Yo. Come on, you got it.
Oh, no. Ah.
Oh, dang.
You can do
I hope
it.
you have health insurance. Good
Flee,
God.
Russian spies. Destabilize our national security. They made it.
Nice.
What? Oh, that, okay.
Mission impossible.
Alrighty.
Oh my God, he saw right through that shit. That's coming off. I knew it! Taskmaster is a woman. I called it. Knew it.
Daughter.
Nearly killed my Antonia.
Antonia.
Oh, she's got that creepy broken eye.
Vader thing going on here.
Chip.
Oh boy.
Back of her neck.
Oh
Back of her
no.
neck.
They're gonna love this. Hey! Rumors were
Elaine!
true.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. Every time she shows up,
Allergic to
joy
the
fills
worst.
my heart.
She's a recruit. We're getting our Thunderbolts, baby.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh, boy.
It's about to go down.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. Black Widow marks Marvel Studios' return to feature films for the first time in 2 years, but was it worth the wait? What was the idea behind Taskmaster and Val in this movie? And what the hell did happen in Budapest exactly?
a good
Well,
question.
this is a special bonus episode of Inside Marvel where we are talking all about Black Widow. And now again, we're going to be discussing some spoilers from the film as we, posted at the very
Yes.
beginning of this. So we highly encourage you to watch it if you haven't already. It's absolutely worth a watch. I'm Erik Voss, answering your biggest questions about Black Widow with MT. How you doing, MT?
Hey, I'm feeling good. I'm finally glad that we actually get to see this movie after so
know.
long.
I know, I am
Jeez.
too. I am too. I overall very much enjoyed this. We have some thoughts about it. We're going to get to all of it in this episode. And you might have had some questions coming out of it, but we want to start with a quick plot summary. Again, spoilers. MT, take it away.
All right, so yes, in Ohio, 1995, young Natasha Romanoff lives with a family of undercover Russian spies, including people posing as her sister Yelena, her father Alexei, and her mother Melina. And they steal a file from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s North Institute and flee to Cuba, where Dreykov takes the girls into the Red Room, where this North Institute data is used to chemically program young women into assassins, which is
That's
not nice
right.
to do to young women.
Not
Don't
at
do it.
all. And then after some epic opening titles set to a cover of Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit, it's pretty cool imagery there.
Yes.
We find ourselves in 2016 where Natasha flees Thunderbolt Ross after the events of Civil War. And Yelena, on her own mission, Morocco, gets exposed to a chemical that frees her from that mind control. And she sends Natasha more antidote vials in her Norway safe house where Taskmaster attacks, but Natasha is able to get away and she meets Yelena back in Budapest where they are attacked by other widows and by Taskmaster, and Natasha recalls their past mission in Budapest with Hawkeye that was to kill Dreykov alongside his daughter. That's how they found out where Dreykov was, but apparently that failed, so they decide to find Dreykov's hidden Red Room base, wherever that is, and kill him. They break out of Russian prison Alexei, and they meet up on Melina's pig farm, and they argue, but Melina has already called them into the Red Room.
Yes, and they're all taken to the Red Room, a hidden floating base up in the sky. You'll never see it because it's hidden.
It's just behind a big cloud. It's good to find in those clouds.
And Melina greets Dreykov, but she and Natasha had swapped identities, Mission Impossible style, which I love. I love a good face reveal. It's like
me
the
too.
face mask reveal. It's so
Me too.
good.
It's great, yeah.
But the bigger reveal here is that Taskmaster is revealed to be Dreykov's daughter, Antonia, who's still alive. I don't know how, but she's still alive.
This is
And
the
they
worst planned explosion ever.
For real, like, it was clear. Wow, how do you miss? How do you miss a little girl? I don't understand. And they free the widows, crash the Red Room, kill Dreykov, liberate and subdue Antonia, and go their separate ways, all in a matter of, 2.5 hours? A lot happens in this movie. And Natasha heads off, of course, at the end to join Cap and to free all the other Avengers in the raft after being arrested by Tony Stark.
Yep. And in a post-credit scene set after Avengers Endgame, Yelena mourns at Natasha's grave. We think it's in Ohio, but then is greeted by Val, Julie Louis-Dreyfus from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with her next target being Clint Barton, Hawkeye.
The
whom
most
she
dangerous
blames
Avenger.
Yeah, I know. She weirdly blames Hawkeye for Natasha's death and weirdly knows about what happened on Vormir. But my whole breakdown of that post-credit scene and how it ties into the Thunderbolts and the Hawkeye Disney Plus series is already on the channel. You can watch it along with my big old breakdown of all the Easter eggs in the movie. But here, since Hawkeye was really the unseen archer in the room of this film, we want to explore what really happened in Budapest, what the whole timeline was with Natasha's defection from the Red Room organization to joining S.H.I.E.L.D., which really was like a burning MCU question that this movie, I believe, only half answered. But before we get to that, we've got some Black Widow-inspired merch dropping at newrockstarsmerch.com all throughout this weekend. There's a really fun Russian nesting doll design with the family members of Black Widow being, of decreasing doll size. I love it. I'm really excited to grab one of these. So make sure to get your hands on that. We also have our latest obsession shirt with a play on the classic Hourglass Black Widow logo, Black Widow, the Red Deep. This one will have a super limited supply, so you gotta snap it up real quick.
Yes, it'll be a collector's item. In like 7 months' time, they'll be worth $1 million a pop. So get it quick.
Now, there will be other shirt, sticker, and merch designs dropped over the next few days. While you're there, check out our Loki collection, which just released this great Loki Gator Polo shirt with the little hearts on it.
Amazing.
I will be wearing that to pursue my glorious purpose, whatever that ends up being from now on. So buying a shirt or a hat or a hoodie is one of the best ways that you can support us here at New Rockstars. So see all the merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. But MT, kick us off. What is our big question coming out of Black Widow?
Yeah, I feel like the first question that we need to ask here is what really happened in Budapest? Like, why did this movie leave most of it, like pretty much all of it, honestly, off screen?
Yes. So really that mystery of what happened in Budapest was what excited many fans looking ahead at this movie. Like, there was that line in 2012's Avengers where Natasha and Hawkeye had that memorable exchange while they were having that shootout with the Chitauri, saying it was like Budapest all over again. And Clint said, you and I remember Budapest very differently. And then obviously Marvel thought this was a big deal because in Endgame, Clint said as they were blasting off to Vormir, we're a long way from Budapest. And now this movie shows Natasha returning to her Budapest safe house in 2016, which was years after that incident with Hawkeye. And it suggested that that incident took place sometime between the mid-2000s and 2011 because Natasha was still a kid in 1995 and would have needed to be old enough to be an assassin, finally leaving the Red Room program. And by 2011, she was already working for Nick Fury under S.H.I.E.L.D. So Natasha says that her Budapest mission was the final step of her defection to S.H.I.E.L.D. And it was to assassinate Dreykov, which she did, or tried to, by tracking his daughter, Antonia. And we see that building explode, but really in the reflection of a car window. And it was suggested that there was some shootout that left arrow holes in Natasha's safe house, and that Natasha and Clint hid in a metro station air vent for several days. And that is all this movie tells us about Budapest. In what way was that like fighting Chitauri in New York? Or, was that just the joke of Clint's response that this is not at all like what we went through in Budapest?
Yeah, it was just really weird the way they handled it. Because, like, we were all sort of expecting to see the scene, like a flashback scene of Budapest with, like, maybe a Hawkeye cameo and, like, just getting that whole, like, maybe it de-aged a bit with that de-aging technology and, like, all that stuff. But, like, it was just a conversation, which it's fine, I guess. But, like, it sort of just didn't really just happen in this movie.
It didn't. And it gave us enough for the context of this Black Widow film. But it also makes me wonder, MT, maybe this backstory could be explored in a show that Jeremy Renner's actually going to be in, Hawkeye on Disney Plus, especially now that Yelena Belova is returning in that show, is confirmed. So do we think that we might get more answers about Budapest in Hawkeye?
Definitely. I would hope so. Because again, they didn't really show us a lot here. And I think that Marvel Studios hopefully knows that there is like a real demand for like those events in Budapest. So like we might not get a full flashback, but I feel that maybe Clint will probably give Yelena some more details as to what happened in Budapest, as Yelena was in the same room. It's like, hey, what are all these things? This is a very curious event that just happened. So please tell me more after I tried to kill you and now we're mates.
What I found interesting about those arrow holes in the safe house is they were all in the same place, making it seem like, did Hawkeye at first try to assassinate Natasha when he met her? Like, did he follow her to Budapest, and maybe they spent several weeks in Budapest of like Clint like trying to get to her, kind of a Mr. and Mrs. Smith sort of thing, and then like after he had her, he just talked to her, he tried to convert her, and then over the course of that time together, she's like, okay, you know what, you're right, and I can prove my loyalty by killing this asshole Dreykov. I guess, I don't know, that's probably not how deprogramming works. That's a bit rushed, right? To say that it all happened over a month period of time in Budapest. That would be quite a before midnight romance between those two. For it all to go down then.
But no, I really dig that Mr. and Mrs. Smith idea of just like, you know, Hawkeye going after her and she's just like dodging Hawkeye and then they finally meet. I would love to see that movie. That would be a great movie.
I mean, that's why I hope we get some kind of flashback. I'm not saying Scarlett Johansson's a huge actress. I don't know if she's gonna, cameo in the Hawkeye series. The fact that they have Florence Pugh who's gonna appear in that is already a pretty big get for them. I don't know if they have the budget to also afford a Scarlett cameo, but we have a lot more questions we want to talk about with like Taskmaster, all the other things you might have questions about coming out of this movie. But first, we want to thank someone who helped us make this episode. If you are like me and you've been obsessively watching and rewatching scenes to try to pick up on all the missable details and everything that we cover, like all the dots on that Red Room map, you might also be getting headaches and some digital eye strain. Well, Blue Blocks is here to help. Their blue light computer glasses are great to use during the day when you're working with screens under artificial light like we are. It's been a big help for me. Blue Blocks are made in optics laboratories in Australia with science-backed technology tested to ensure they work. Unlike other blue light glasses companies, their glasses come in non-prescription but also prescription and reading options. They have glasses for every need. Blue light for helping with digital eye strain, Summer Glow for helping with low mood and migraines, and Sleep Plus for improving your sleep. Blue Blocks also has other amazing products such as low blue light bulbs, red light therapy devices, and 100% blackout sleep masks, all backed by science. Blue Blocks ship worldwide in rapid time and has easy returns and exchanges. So go to blueblocks.com/Marvel and use our coupon code MARVEL to save 20%. That's blueblocks.com, BLUBLOX.com/Marvel, and use coupon code MARVEL. All right, MT, next question. Why did Black Widow feature Taskmaster at all? Like, don't you think Antonia Dreykov is still an interesting character and could have just been her own character without having to pile on the Taskmaster identity?
I mean, if there wasn't Taskmaster in this movie, what Marvel villain would be the villain? Like, it would just be this Black Widow adventure with all like original characters, which would be fine. But at the same time, what would be the draw to get people into theaters? I think they needed some type of like, what's the name? Like, we need a big name. It's Taskmaster. And so, they just, her name is Antonia because the original Taskmaster in the comics is Anthony Masters. This is obviously a gender flipped version of that character. So like, I hear that. And that is unfortunately something that I feel like Marvel Studios thinks they need for these movies. But I don't know. You just tell me you're making a Black Widow movie. I'll go watch it. Right. Like, it's true.
I think that's a fear that Marvel has and they don't need to have anymore because their brand is so valuable. I think, like, if you compare this to Captain America, the Winter Soldier, right? So the Winter Soldier seems like the villain of the movie, and then it's revealed as it is in the comics to be Bucky, and the real villain is Alexander Pierce. Like, can't you just like say the villain's going to be one of these other, like, either whether it's Red Guardian or something like that, or Yelena Belova is going to be the villain of it, but then they like team up and then face Dreykov. Like, I don't know if you need Taskmaster for that. I don't know if you need that draw. Yelena Belova is a fascinating character, and if you just like market this film and say Yelena Belova is going to be in it, most people are going to be like, oh, the rival, because a lot of times in the comics they're not working together. So similarly, like, I think they could have just done that. I don't know if we need. I mean, not to say, I do think Taskmaster could very easily be just a title that is passed on to someone else in the future. I'm not saying we're done with Taskmaster. I don't entirely hate it as much as some people are saying online, but I do think, I hope Marvel walks away from this saying, like, we don't need a super villain in every title that we put on the poster of the movie. Characters' conflicts can just be more internal or more drawn with, like, lesser faces from their pasts. I don't know. That's just me.
If you have a good enough storyteller, you don't need big names to draw people to your film. And I'm not saying that the people who made Black Widow aren't good storytellers. So this is a very good story that has been told. But it's just like you said, like I'm just co-signing what you said. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You don't need a Taskmaster. We don't need a big villain. We just need to see our favorite heroes going through some type of struggle and then overcoming it. So like as long as that's there, it's okay. Like Taskmaster didn't need to be in this movie at all. Like they could have saved Taskmaster for something else, something more, I feel, more appropriate for the character's skill set. Because I feel like there's a good chunk of this movie where we don't see Taskmaster at all. He's just like, or she's just like off screen completely. So it's like, they could have just given her more to do. I don't know.
Well, and like they could have given her more agency as well. Like I know part of the theme of the movie is that Dreykov has like these people programmed, right? But like, by making her, he said, I have to put a chip in the back of her head. And then you see it from her point of view. It's like this Terminator-y algorithm that honestly feels like part of Iron Man's tech. And we already saw that in a movie as well. Like, why not just make her so pissed off at what Natasha did to her that she has spent her life dedicating mirroring the Avengers? And it is something like what Tony Masters has, which is like photographic reflexes. Like, it's not something to where her brain had to be programmed. It's something to where, like, it's just another example of how, this movie does kind of look at how all these characters are not necessarily the best people. They leave destruction in their wake. And I just thought it was such an interesting choice to have Natasha mostly unremorseful for killing this girl when she's like, look, it was the mission. It had to be done to get to Dreykov. Like, that's fascinating. Like, like that moment when Loki said Dreykov's daughter in Avengers, like, she looked genuinely guilty when he said that. And then at the end of that scene, she goes, thank you for cooperation, and kind of struts away. Like, this is someone who is a cold-blooded killer in her past. She does have some red in her ledger. She's trying to clear it. But specifically, each of these things, I don't know how apologetic she is. So to explore that side of her character, I think it'd be fascinating to force her to be accountable for that by making Antonia Dreykov such a fearsome threat who has some true emotional stakes. And instead, all we really got was Natasha just going, I'm sorry, kind of apologizing in her ear. At the end, I don't know, wasn't enough for me. Was not enough for me.
And no, it definitely wasn't. And like, the character of Antonia Dreykov for me just seems very hollow. It just seems like it's just a very blank slate. Like, I don't really, and like, I guess that's like,
she didn't even blink.
She's just a mannequin.
You burned off my eyelids.
But no, like, she just seemed like very just like, I'm not really a person. And like, they could have, like you said, I had a really good opportunity to have her just filled with rage. It's like, I just want to get better so that I can just kill that chick that tried to kill me. And like, just be like better and stronger so that I'll never be in this weak, vulnerable position again.
Right.
Like, that would have been a lot more interesting than I'm just this victim of this explosion and now I work for my dad who can't get over it. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah.
Weird.
But let's move on and talk about Val in this. I think the fact that Val showed up in this, very surprising to me. Because it's the first time that we've seen something that showed up in a Disney Plus show first, show up in a movie, right? But we have to acknowledge that Black Widow was supposed to come out months before The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was Marvel's original timeline. So is that going to be the case? Would that have changed anything, seeing Val show up in Black Widow before we saw her with John Walker in The Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I don't think so. I think that these are two very separate scenes that could have happened either way first. Like, I feel like the way that we got it was the best way, because like those footsteps in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm like, who is this? And then like it's the slow reveal. It's like, oh my god, that was amazing. I like that reveal. So like to have, but like, we did have her what's it called, blowing her nose at the grave. So like that would have been fun too. But I don't think anything really changes in terms of like the order that we see it. I think that it's just like has always been the plan for Val for Marvel, and they're just like, all right, I guess we'll just do it this way because of the pandemic. But like, what do you think?
Well, I wonder, like, when we saw her in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got her full name, so we would have had to do more like guesswork, and then instead it would have just been like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. What? Like, that would have hit harder with more people, I think, watched. But I think I agree with you. Like, these could have come in either order, and I think that's why they did it this way.
See, I wonder if the orders were reversed, if people would think that Val was working more with Nick Fury Because like she does have that connection with Nick Fury in the comics.
Right.
But since we got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier first, and we know that Val's sort of not really the best person because she's working with a psychopath, first of all, and she's manipulating a psychopath. So it's just like, if we got, hey, I know you're sad, but like, here's, kill Clint and all this stuff, we would have been like, wait a minute. That's kind of weird, but like she wasn't on Vormir, so maybe she's just like mistaken, and like all this stuff. So like, I feel like our perceptions of who Val is as a person might be different if we got those differently in different orders.
That's a good point, MT. The introduction we got in the Falcon and Winter Soldier was such a great introduction to the character. I think that is better of an introduction than this scene is. Who knows what they reshot and might have reconfigured though. So I'm happy with the way she is in the MCU. But I wanted to ask you. So the final shot in the movie before we see Natasha with her shorter blonde hair is like she seems like she's about to have to face Ross and all of his men. How'd she get away from him, and what was she doing during those 2 weeks?
That's actually a good question, because like they sort of just drove past her at the end. It's like, oh, hey Natasha, I'm just gonna go see what's going on with this crash. I don't know how she escaped Ross at the end. I mean, she's sort of just, I feel like she just snuck away and just like, all right, just gonna leave
him
here.
Again.
And like, cause like there was a lot of destruction and people didn't really know what was going on, so they're sort of just focused on like, all right, let's just clear the debris, maybe get some intel from this red room, whatever. And they're just like, whatever. I mean, we'll find Natasha one of these days. It's whatever. And like she's gonna sneak past us anyway. So
what I think is she sifted through the wreckage and found one of those masks, and she slipped it back on.
it's like torn up. She's just like piecing it together. Like, all right, hold on.
You have like half of it flickering on the face. The other one, it just looks like that other SHIELD agent that was helping, or Fury's guy. Just like, what's wrong with you, Johnson? I'm fine. I'm just fine.
Looking like a Picasso painting.
Confirmed. We solved it. Question answered. You're welcome. So, MT, do you think Red Guardian could have ever faced an alternate version of Captain America like Isaiah Bradley? Because there's no way he faced Steve Rogers, but could he face Isaiah Bradley?
That was one of the most like really like wait a minute, what is he talking about type of scenario, like situations when he was talking about bragging about his fight with Captain America in prison, because like the timelines don't match up, and so that got me thinking, what if it is Steve Rogers from like doing his whole time heist thingy, like, and he runs across Red Guardian? That like, I feel like that's something Kevin Feige would do as like a little tease of like, you know what, Steve Rogers, he's got his own thing in time we haven't explored yet, so like here's a little crumb that we're leaving behind. So that would be really fun. But Isaiah Bradley is really fun as well. What do you think?
I think Red Guardian was probably just lying. I think that was the concept of the scene, is he was just telling these prison stories to try to talk himself up, like how much of a badass he is. He's like boastful Loki in that Loki scene, he's just like lying, straight up lying. But I would love to see Red Guardian face some other version of Captain America, whether that's I think Isaiah Bradley, he was like a Korean war fighter, and then Red Guardian was kind of active in the 80s. So I don't know if the timeline really matches up there. Isaiah Bradley at that point was either retired or no, he was in prison, right? For like 30 years, something horrible. So, but I would love to see, especially if there's like some kind of multiverse what if scenario, to see Red Guardian fighting some version of Cap.
I would love to see, like you just brought up, Red Guardian boastful Loki hanging out. Like that would be so fun. They're just lying to each other.
Oh yeah. Well, I was there right when Thanos snapped. I was hiding behind one of those Wakandan trees. I saw him do it, and he looked at me and he's like, "Uh-oh," and he tried to stab me, but I didn't dust. I resisted the dusting. That's how strong I am. And Thanos is like, "Uh-oh," and he snuck away because he's so afraid.
he flew the Thanos copter away. He was like, "Oh shit, I gotta go."
So we have a couple other videos we want to make about Black Widow, but that will be it for this episode of Inside Marvel. So don't forget to check out all the other merch options we talked about, the Black Widow merch that's going to be a limited amount of time, and of course all of our Loki options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow MT at MasterTainment, follow me at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching, and we'll close with our favorite moment from the film.
They think